Welcome for the Healthcare Amplified podcast, where you join us to experience what truly means to be a healthcare creative. Now, many of us are great at creating content, whether you are a blogger, you have a YouTube channel, you are podcasters, TV hosts like the rest of us, or you have multiple radio shows, you're here in the right place. Now, commonly, we all have the same challenge. All of these great content, who's consuming that? Are we talking to the right audience? Of all the great work that we're doing, do we even have time to keep going? And perhaps you're in the boat of, you had a podcast for a while. You liked it. You really like that type of work. It's sharing your message with others. But there's a lot to it. Perhaps you're focusing on growing your audience-ship, but eventually life got into the way and that got tabled. And how do you even get back into it? And for those people who are trying to be consistent and having issues about keeping your sponsors because you have a smaller number of following, or you're able to get sponsored but don't know how to continuously bring them back to your community, or those of you really wanted to leverage podcasting for your business growth within the healthcare arena. For all these questions, how do we find the right answer? There's actually, not surprisingly, hundreds and thousands of shows out there in the healthcare space. So we like for you to join us in this collective, this journey. And as we move forward, we love for you to contribute to our conversation as we go on to this new podcast called Healthcare Amplified. Now, let's take a minute, introduce our other co-host. John, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, thanks, Sabrina. I'm John Largent. I am the CEO and founder of Game Day Media and also the Senior Care Movement. And that is a community that I've been working with to help transition people from other careers that wanted to find more fulfillment in their life, find meaning and purpose and care. Maybe they have a servant's heart and they just don't know how to do it. So we coach people on how to make that transition. And I can't tell you how excited I am to be a part of this podcast because there's so much information out there specifically geared for healthcare professionals that are also content creators that I'm super excited that we've opened this door specifically for this community, and I can't wait to get started.
Yay! Thank you so much. I know John's been doing some amazing stuff across the board. There's from the healthcare side and his media company, and he also runs a whole health network of healthcare podcasters in the Texas area. So we are neighbors. Now, Zach, please introduce yourself.
Thank you, Sabrina. Thank you, John. This is Zach Tomopoulos. I'm just honored to be here with these two fine folks who I have met through the podcast community, which I'll touch on in just a second. But first about me, I've got a long career in the healthcare, pharmaceutical area. I've done various roles from sales, management, HR, training and development, diversity and inclusion. And then I spent about 13 years running a home care business, and that's where I really got into my caregiver advocacy, which is what I currently do today. And my focus is really to work with employers and help them come up with some solutions on how they could do a better job of supporting their working caregivers. There's an imminent caregiver crisis out there that's upon us, and we need to really come up with some better solutions. During my time when I was running a home care business, I created a podcast and started really getting involved in the podcast community. And why I'm excited about this podcast and working with people like Sabrina and John is because community is very, very critical when you're trying to create something. You know, a lot of times we say that the creator world is a lonely world, but it really shouldn't be, and it doesn't need to be. And that's why I love what we're creating here with Healthcare Amplified, is that we'll be able to lean on others and leverage our strengths and be able to bring our creativity out there, you know, into more fruition. also with my podcast, when I was running a home care business, I found that it created engagement and credibility. And it's kind of neat that people are able to access the content we create out there anytime they want to, and learn more about us in a personal way versus maybe picking a book and reading through an author, which is still very important and very good. So I'm really excited to be working with these two fine folks and launching Healthcare Amplified to the world.
Yes, we're all about collaboration, contribution, and how do we move forward together. And I always believe the idea we can always create win-win situations in any encounter. Now, some people might not understand what does that truly mean. However, I think we can all strive in that sense. Now, really quickly, I am Sabrina Runbeck. For those who don't know me, I am a recovery clinician, being in the cardiothoracic space as a physician associate for more than 8 years. I got really burned out early on carrying a big list of 20 patients by myself, operating sometimes 2 pump cases a day. And our cases are minimum 4 or 5 hours long. And on top of that, we were at a transplant service. So got really burned out and think about, what does that mean? How can I keep up with being a provider in the healthcare space and still loving what we do? Because all the letters behind our name, I have 2 bachelors, 2 masters, and keep going, right? We all love learning. We all love the environment of what it means to be serving others. However, just because people coming to you, what does that mean to truly creating a fulfillment, to truly have that impactful state that you can be? So I moved back to what I used to do before medicine in neuroscience and public health, and went into the healthcare business side and truly learned a lot about myself, how I engage with others, and loving the way of what we believe is the true nature of what peak performance means. And now I run several companies helping the healthcare technology founders in a growth phase to figure out what's missing in their business so they can truly go into that multi-8-figure level and not just the idea that just barely make revenue. Because we all know there's a lot of solution out there in the innovative side of space, and people are so creative, genius about what they do, but actually they just needed to have the right people, the right strategy, and to be able to make a great impact, both from profit-wise and also the number of patients they can make improvement in the health space. And that's why for Healthcare Amplify, our slogan is shaping the future of healthcare with your voice. Now, I know there's a lot of challenges in our space, and that's often talked about, but specifically with creatives, I would love to hear from you guys, John and Zach. What do you think are some of the common challenges we are facing in the space of healthcare when we're trying to leverage our voice, when we're trying to run a show? What are some common challenges you guys feel like you have heard of or you have personally faced before?
Yeah, I know in my case, working with folks in the medical community and myself included, I was a healthcare administrator for 27 years. Consistency is always a challenge because we have busy lives and we have busy calendars, and finding time to squeeze that in is a challenge, but it's also something that if you want to be successful in being a content creator, you have to make time for it. It can't be a second priority. It can't be something that you can do later when you have time. It has to be ingrained into your calendar and done on a consistent basis to make sure that your message is being placed out there and, no pun intended, being amplified to the community that you're looking to touch. So consistency. And I would say the other thing, at least in my case, is creating the right message for your listener. I work with a lot of folks in the medical community, and I work with some surgeons, and they use surgical technology or terminology when they're podcast is the end listener is typically someone that is a potential patient or someone that's a lay person, not in the medical community. So really tempering your medical knowledge and making it simplified so that people can understand concepts that are going to resonate with the listeners. So those two things on my end are things that I'm constantly working with our clients and with and just with the healthcare community at large, because we want to make sure that people understand what we're saying without having to break out a medical terminology book.
So,
Right. Such a great point.
Yeah, consistency and light message, John, without a doubt. But you know what? If you don't get started, you can't even get that far. So I would say, Sabrina, that some of the challenges that I actually experienced myself and the benefit I saw from that community I keep talking about, which I have the utmost love for and what we're creating here, is that all the things that are blocking you, like legal, HIPAA, what do I do with a guest if they start talking about a client? What can I say? What can't I say? How do I what technology am I going to use? I remember we were on a network meeting recently, Sabrina was leading, and we had breakouts. And we went right into technology questions like, so what's the best mic and what's the best format? Now, some of these things might sound very simple, but in my opinion, a lot of healthcare providers, just like what Sabrina was walking us through, their daily lives could be extremely hectic and a lot of stress. And so knowing that this creativity is a passion of yours and that you can benefit so many people by getting it out there, it's so important. But if you don't get started, or if you do and then you fade because of some of the other challenges, that's what I think is probably the biggest challenge, Sabrina, in the creator world. And I experienced it myself, and luckily I had a lot of folks I can lean on. In the Podfest community, you're going to find all kinds of folks that have different types of expertises they could share.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Also, is that we really lean into each other. The reason why we create this together is because these common problems of some people are saying, hey, my wife edited that, my kids do that, or I have to do that. But like, I just came off a 12-hour shift. I'm still editing and doing my graphics and just trying to put it out there, right? Yeah, it seems like people really love my content, but I'm not sure what am I getting out there, or it's just a publicity, or am I actually getting recognized? And so there's so many questions when we are getting into these roadblocks, and to say, how do we do it that's easier? And also the quality that we're bringing for what you guys are mentioning, in not using too much terminology, actually understanding who you are speaking to. And especially as a professional speaker, when I moved through that world, we actually know there are 3 natural languages: the physical, the emotional, and spiritual. And even all 3 of us, you probably start noticing we talk in different style. I'm very tactful, so that's a physical communicator. And John, he's very storytelling, right? That's the emotional side of your communication. And Zach is between both the spiritual and the emotional communicator, where he's elaborative. He is thoughtful thinking, and that means creativity, right? So all of us probably swing into different type of style of communication. And yeah, we needed to be intentional, because our audience have all different type of communication. If you're too used to just speaking in your own languages, we're going to lose people, right? And that's why it's so crucial to really think about not only the quality of what you're putting out, consistency, speaking with the right language, and all the tech things. Whew, right? And then we can say what mic to use. I travel around. I was just talking to the 2 of them. I actually have just like tripod stand with my USB camera plugged in. It works for me. And some people have very elaborative professional camera and everything. But we don't have to overcomplicate, and we can do things simpler. And that's why when you're in a community, we can solve these problems so much faster. So Zach, would you like to elaborate more on what we wanted to put together, especially this first ever healthcare creative summit that we're partnering up with Podfest in 2024?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We are psyched about this. This is going to be the first ever of its kind. And we are honored because we're doing it the same week of a very important event that's going on that's going to be celebrating their 10-year anniversary, and that's Podfest. And the reason I bring that up is because that's where John and Sabrina and I met. I would never know these individuals if I didn't go to this community and attend their events, breakouts, panel discussions, lots of vendors, and a lot of friend working is what I call it. Friend working is when you meet somebody and you're not really trying to sell something to them or buy something from them. You're really just trying to get to know each other and work together collectively. So Sabrina, John, and I have decided that we are going to do the first ever Healthcare Amplified Summit in Orlando, Florida, right before Podfest starts. And this is going to be January 25th, 2024. It's going to be a huge event. It's a live event. And we are really, really excited about putting this program together. Woohoo!
Yes, and you know what's funny? It's not funny, funny, but it's funny. Is the last event that I went to was also in Orlando, and it was the Podfest event that was happening as COVID was breaking out, and people were starting to panic. I don't know if you guys remember, but some people were like me, was like, what's going on? And then there were other people, how are we going to get home? And so I remember that vividly. And Podfest has been such an important aspect of the growth of my company and what we do, because I've been to every Podfest except the first one. And I think Chris Kremitzos, who founded that, said there were about 20 or 25 people. It's grown in 10 years to be the largest independent podcast conference in the world at, somewhere around 2,500 attendees. It's a fantastic event. And I feel like we have really been given a huge opportunity to grab onto the coattails of this event to start Healthcare Amplified, because whether you're in healthcare or not, if you continue on after our event and stay for Podfest, you're going to get a wealth of information. And so I'm like you, I am so psyched about this event because we are breaking new ground. We are creating something specifically for the healthcare creator. And I can't wait. We're already starting to get things out, like our speaker applications, and our website is going up. I mean, you're listening to this or watching this as we are actually wrapping this thing in a cocoon and ready for this thing to break out as a chrysalis here before too long. But it's one of those things where you don't get an opportunity very often to be a part of such a exciting and dynamic community. And so I feel really super blessed to be working with Sabrina and Zach on this. And it's something that I think if you're a healthcare creator, you have to be there. This is going to be something, and this is going to be your event. So we're going to learn from this first one, but it's going to be something that we are taking great care to produce content and speakers and activities and vendors that are all going to potentially benefit you in your journey as a healthcare creator. So I couldn't be more excited. And these two individuals that are here on the podcast with me they're really thought leaders in the space. And I feel like I'm just tagging along.
I feel so excited to be in this room because just like the two of you, Zach really created this new idea to say, we need to have this event going. And then when he approached me and John, we're like, of course, haven't been done. And then we need to even think bigger than this. It's not just an event. It's actually about a community people of how do we continue to work together. And we actually also started our monthly virtual event to be friend working and to be brainstorming with each other and to share with you more about all the exciting things that we have in the pipeline for our events and collective. So we definitely invite each of you to join us, whether you wanted to be a speaker, a sponsor, a referral partner, a committee member, or just meet some other show host and get to know each other. Perhaps you can gain a speaking engagement. Perhaps you meet someone who really can help your career to excel into that next level. So we will put that link in the show note below, or you can just go to rebrand.ly/healthcare podcasters to sign up for our monthly event. And we'll also have our link to our website, healthcareamplify.org, in there as well for you to check out all the exciting things we have built exactly for you guys. So I'm so excited that we're here and that you're spending time with us, whether you're watching on YouTube, on live stream, or you're listening to us on our podcast. We truly appreciate each one of you for your contribution, for your creativity, and for how you're leveraging your voice to shape the betterment of healthcare.
Sabrina, you nailed it. Listen, I already mentioned it before. Don't let any excuses or obstacles be the reason why you didn't get your voice out there. Let us help you amplify that voice. We need it. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I'll just button this all up by saying, if you're a healthcare provider who's even thinking about, maybe you've never done any social media or any content creation, this is the perfect supportive community that is going to allow you to ask those questions that you may be afraid to ask, to experiment with different equipment and different processes and different ways to schedule this on your calendar. This is a place where you're going to be treated with a collaborative spirit, and that the reason we've all been involved in healthcare, we want to help. And so allow us to do that in this community. The event is going to be phenomenal in January, but this community as a whole, year round, is going to be your depot on your locomotive to pick up what you need and to give back. We want to make sure we hear your voice too, and ideas. Anytime we have new eyes and ears that join the community, that's a new opportunity to tap into their expertise and their ideas. So make sure that you participate in this, and we will welcome you with open arms, because this is a great opportunity for you healthcare content creators to join us.
Perfect. Thank you so much for being here, Zach and John, and then appreciate you guys for joining us today. And check out our link below, ring and follow up on our social media platforms, which are LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. And then we can't wait to hear from you, to learn about all your amazing work, and see you at our conference.
Come join us on Thursday, January 25th in Orlando for the first ever Healthcare Amplified Summit as part of the 10th anniversary of the Podfest Multimedia Expo. You'll hear from amazing healthcare content creators from around the globe, engage in multiple networking, or as we call them, friend-working events, and collaborate with like-minded healthcare content creators. Experience this and a whole lot more. To register, go to our website at healthcareamplified.org, and we'll see you in Orlando.